Troy Galloway is a construction manager and consultant, commercial and residential builder, and a certified inspector for all commercial and residential buildings. And now, here is About the House with Troy Galloway.
Welcome back, folks, to About the House. This is your humble host, Troy Galloway, and I'm so tickled to have you all back once again here for us today. And this is called About the House because this radio show is about everything about your home. It is we call it a university of knowledge. It's for all of the information is on podcasts, so you can go whenever you need to. And what's really great is we have so much information, you got to listen to it several times to glean all of it from it. Check us out on YouTube, our podcast, and what we love, and then always comment if you have questions. We got a lot of folks on YouTube that actually does a lot of commenting, and which is great to get the dialogue going. So please jump right in here. And hey, I own Galloway Building Services, which I say every radio show. But our company is just as unique as this radio show. There isn't another company that does the type of work we do throughout the Midwest. Yes, we do home and building inspections. So if you got a home you're wanting to buy or sell, or you're buying, which we're doing a lot of commercial inspections right now, we take care of that for you. But what makes us even more unique is that we do construction inspections. So if you have a project that you're working on, and you have somebody doing it for you, and you're just not quite for sure that it's being done right, well, give us a call. We come over there. We kind of talk to you, look at it, see what's happening, kind of give any recommendations. And honestly, if we come over there and we can't help you, we don't charge you. So, you have nothing to lose and everything to gain. We also do expert witnessing. So if it does go bad, and your contractor has given you some troubles, and wow, you know how they try to bully you sometimes into paying, you give us a call. Not only do we work with attorneys, but we work with several different trades, so we do bring the expertise to the table. So heaven forbid that happen, but if it does, you have somebody there that helps you. Our motto is to make sure that the job is being done right, that you're not getting ripped off, and you're getting what you paid for. And so you probably hear me say that all the time on my videos, but it's really true. So, give us a call, Galloway Building Services. See us out on webpage, and my cell phone number, which is a great way of reaching me, and I'm giving it to you through the radio show, so I kind of know how you found me, is 314-520-6655. Now, at the end of the radio show here, we'll jump in here and I'll give you the office number again, besides my own cell phone number. But hey, today I wanted to do a show that I've been getting asked for quite a bit, and it's on windows. It's really getting ready to go into window season. We I know we are coming to the end of the summer. It's going to be blowing cold here pretty quick. And if you're going to get new windows or window replacement, or you're building a home and you want to make sure you get the right type of windows, this is a great show to listen to. Now, we're not going to get into this particular show. We're not going to get into the particulars of the glass and glazings and seals and some of the technical stuff, which as a construction geek, I love. But we're going to focus mostly on today the different types of windows and window frames, just kind of the basics, because I think that's really where we really need to start from. And that way you kind of know, if you have a window salesman coming over your house, kind of what you're looking for. So you don't get buffaloed into buying something that you really don't want nor need. More particular, you don't want. So let's jump right in here, and we're going to start on window types. Single hung windows. First, let's talk about what is a single hung window. Well, single hung window, is basically a window sash. Let's say sash real quick. That's the little part that holds your glass. That lifts up and down so as that it operates in your window. And that lets you breeze in or whatnot. So a single hung window only has the bottom sash, the bottom piece of glass that lifts up. So that is what we call a single hung window. And, they are actually what we see on single hung windows basically are what builder grade windows. That's normally what is being put into it is a single hung window. Because of the cost, actually. But there, in single hung windows, there's some advantages and disadvantages to it. But, one of the disadvantages to a single hung window, all windows tilt. Well, I can't say all windows, double hung, single hung windows, they tilt in for washing purposes. Well, a single hung window, most all single hung windows, they have a tilt mechanism. That means that you could tilt the window into you so you can clean both sides of the glass instead of getting up on the ladder. But what happens is that you can't get to that upper sash without kind of leaning out of the window opening to get that outside of that top sash, that top piece of glass. So that's a disadvantage if you are big into window cleaning. But one of the big advantages to a single hung window is that they are energy efficient. Why are they energy efficient? It's because that top sash is sealed. It's tight, and it's, that it definitely doesn't going to let air come around it. And single hung windows come in all the different frames, which we're going to get into framing a little bit later. So definitely that's a great, that's an attribute or a plus for it. Also, there's less mechanisms to go wrong. We'll get into that on double hung windows, but there's less things that could actually go bad with a single hung window. So you got higher energy efficiency, a cheaper cost, and it's a good economical all around window, and it doesn't take a whole lot for maintenance. So that is some of our pluses and negatives to our single hung windows. Now we go into the double hung windows. Double hung windows, what does that mean? Well, a double hung window is where your top sash, your top piece of glass, lowers and your bottom piece of glass raises, so that both pieces of your glass, both your sashes are operable. By far, the double hung window is the most popular window there is out there. Now, there are some pluses and negatives to it, but one of the big pluses, and I think that most people talk about, is because they are easier to clean. See, because both sashes move, they both tilt, so you don't ever have to get back up on a ladder again to ever clean them, which is really, really great, because nobody wants to be hanging out on side of them windows on a ladder, especially when you're getting up high cleaning windows. Heck, most people don't want to clean windows anyway. I know I don't. Okay, if the wife's listening, I do. I like cleaning windows. I like cleaning them every time she tells me that I want to clean the windows. But if any other time, they look just fine. But anyway, besides that, because I know the boss is listening, double hung windows. Now, some of the disadvantages to a double hung window. Well, you do have more working mechanisms to it. So they will have a tendency to have, naturally they're going to have a problem of breaking down a little bit sooner or having more problems. Something I want to mention on both single hung and double hung windows. And this is and you could actually pick this up on my YouTube podcast on one of my shows that we did. What happens is that when you are tilting that window, that bottom sash, make note of this, even if you have to back up and listen to it again, because it is that important. This radio's right here, this tip right here is going to possibly save you tons of money. When you lift that window up to clean it, to tilt it in, always lift it up past the bottom rail or that little lip at the bottom of the window. Get it up out of that section, then tilt it in. What happens, and this is single hung and double hung windows, what happens is if you tilt that window too soon, which it can, because you can reach your tilt mechanism on your bottom sash without lifting it up. But it comes out of the ballast system or the lifting mechanism, and then that little spring or whatever that system may be, it comes out of that cam, and then bang, the window won't stay up. And then you think the window's broke. What do you do? Well, then you call maybe a handyman or a window company. Well, the handyman, he's going to come over there and he's going to fix this window, and he's going to charge you $150, and it only takes him 5 minutes. Watch my videos on there on that one. Go to YouTube and check them out, or even on my webpage at Galloway Building Services.com, because I got them on there, and it's very important. It saves you a ton of money. Now, but a window company, what do? Well, they're not there to repair your windows. They're there to sell you windows. They're going to tell you, oh, this window's broke, and they rip them windows out and charge you tons of money for a window that isn't broke whatsoever. So just make a note of that here, so you can go back and you review that and go to my Facebook page and check that out, so as that you can, or my YouTube channel, I'm sorry, both of them have it, but so as that you can, learn how to do it. So double hung windows. Well, now let's kind of drill a little bit deeper into double hung windows. So we know that they're easy to clean. That's awesome. But there is some other really energy. We're talking green energy here, how to save money. And I kind of talked about that on some of our other radio shows when we talk about saving energy, saving money without spending money. And this is really, really cool. So interestingly enough, a lot of us of a little bit older, we remember all our ceilings used to be in the old buildings, and those who actually live in the older part of town and live in the older homes, remember how our ceilings were so tall? Well, we can get into that for energy efficiency and why that was at that time. But what we have is that the double hung window is designed so you lower your top sash, that top piece of glass, you lower it down a little bit, and then you raise the bottom. What's that do? That creates a thermal cycling effect. The cold air drops down to the bottom naturally, and the hot air evacuates out the top of that top sash. So you are getting a natural cycle of cooling, of fresh air, and heat escape. Awesome idea. Now, this has been around for several years, about 150 or 200 plus years, because I was always taught incorrectly that Thomas Jefferson invented these double hung windows, but that's not true. It was actually done in 1676 is when the first notable double hung windows were actually made. So this concept of heating and cooling, using thermocycling has been around for a long time. So that is a really, really awesome thing that you can help yourself with. Now, double hung windows, they have because both sashes do move. Naturally, you're going to have some time of air infiltration, because they're just not going to be as tight. That's why you want to make sure that if you're buying a double hung window, you really don't want El Cheapo window. I'm going to tell you a little joke about that here in just a second, but you want to pay the little extra to get the higher quality window due to Consumer Reports or something. But as a home builder, we used to have to put in them old cheap windows, and I can't give you the name of the company, but they're still around. And literally, if the wind was blowing, when I would do a final walkthrough on the home, sometimes them windows would literally whistle. And the home buyers would look at me like, what the heck? And I'd have to kind of blow it off and laugh and say, oh, so the windows are flirting with your wife. I had to say something because it was embarrassing. But that's why it was important to kind of get an upper grade double hung window or a single hung window. You don't want to be heating the outside. So think about that when you're getting your windows. Single hung versus double hung. Double hung cost a little more, but more, there's more good qualities about it than bad. Single hung windows, if you're wanting to flip a house or something, they'd be great too. So let's move on. There's a lot more I could just stay into that, but I got a whole lot of information I'm trying to get out here to you. So let's do casement windows. What is a casement window? Well, that's the window that it's actually older than the double hung windows. They've been around for a long time, and I could not actually find research enough to tell you just how old the casement windows. But a casement window, they are the window that opens to the outside, and actually, so they pivot on one side and the other side of the sash. It's one big tall piece of glass, and they pivot to the outside. So just think of it like a door, right? But it's a window, and the door opens to the outside, and it just cranks open and cranks shut. They are an upper end window. They cost more. They cost more because it costs more to actually manufacture one because of the mechanisms of cranking and locking and such. So they do cost more, but why do people like them? Because on a single hung window or a double hung window, remember we was talking about the two pieces of sashes? Well, you got that sash bar that goes right in the center of your window. Well, you got to admit, that's really, seeing that bars up there of the window sashes, they're not really that attractive. And people like that open beauty of the casement windows. And they still like the idea of having an operable window. So we're going to get into picture windows a little bit later. But so that's one of the big pluses to them. They cost more. That's not a plus, but you're paying for what you get. There again, you want to get a good one. A lot of these lower end window companies, they don't even really make casement windows. So I wouldn't worry about that so much. For energy efficiency, a casement window actually is tighter. Why is it tighter? It cuts down on air. Because when you pull that window in, you crank it it's like shutting the door. Except when you shut the door, you have to pull it a little bit tighter to get it up against the seal. That's what the locking mechanisms on these windows are. And so they are a very energy efficient window. Like I said, we'll get into glasses and all the R values and stuff in another segment, another show. But you think about that because that is that they really do enhance the beauty. And I don't know how much value that they actually add to the cost of the home or to the sale of your home. But what I do know is people love them. And I'd say probably the biggest thing I find when I'm out there doing inspections is that we lose the handles. They're easy to replace. It's just a little set screw on them handles, and people, they get loose, and people, they remove them and lay them down, lose them. But, that's not that big a deal. That's an easy fix. Hey, it doesn't cost much. There's really not much to go too much wrong with them, so there's not a lot of maintenance issues that happen to them. So, but now, one of the things I don't like about the casement windows is that when you do crank that window out, think of that door again, sitting on hinges and cranking out to the outside, well, that's exposing it to the elements. And so you want to make sure, you have a little bit more problems making sure you have to take care of your windows. When we get into wood windows and such, you can see how a wood window being left to the outside, well, that's definitely a little bit of a problem if it's not painted or sealed properly. So that's something that I kind of have a little bit of problems with that type of a window system. But they are really great windows, and people really love them. And when you shut them, they shut on all four sides. They're really a good tight window. And really, casement windows are generally hard to break into, where some of the other, because there's less openings for them to get a pry bar or something into it. Whereas the single hung, double hung windows, we'll look at all the different gaps that they could get into. So they're generally going to have to break the glass to get into that kind of a casement window. And burglars, not that they won't break the glass. That if you're so stupid as you break it into people's houses, you'll do whatever stupid it takes to get in there. But they don't want to make the noise to let the neighbors know. So that's kind of a good thing to think about. All righty. So we are going to move on into the sliders. Some people call them gliding windows. Other people call them sliding windows. I call them sliding windows, but either terminology is absolutely fine. For me, I like the sliding windows, probably the best. And I'll give you the pros and cons to both of them too. For one, a sliding window. It can be either remember the double hung window where both sashes moved, and a single hung window, only one sash, one piece of glass moved? Well, on a sliding window, you can have either or options, just like the others. You can have both of the glasses move or just one of the glasses move or sashes move. I like them both opening. Now, you're not going to get that thermocycling effect, okay? Well, like a double hung. But I like them because, for one, they are cheaper. They're one of the most economical windows out there. Number two, I like them because they just don't have any working parts to speak of other than the locks on them. So there's really not much ever to go bad with them. I also like them because when you tilt a big window in, they can be kind of awkward. Where a sliding window, you could just, especially if both sashes work like that, operate, you could just pick your window right up out of the frame, put it down there. You can clean both sides. You can clean it. It's really, really nice. Now, sliding windows, they're really more of a horizontal in length and shorter in vertical or up and down. So they are more used for, say, like your egress windows in your basement, or some people call them English basements, and other people call them different kind of names here for your basements that have most of your foundation exposed, but not all of it, just like your egress window. So because they are longer and not as tall, so they're perfect applications for that. Like on the front of a house, they're not as pretty, so they kind of lose a little bit of prettiness. As far as energy efficiency, they're kind of like the double hung, single hung. When we talked about that, both sashes, if both sashes move, you have a little bit more opportunity for wind breakage, coming through, seeping through. So you want to kind of get a better one than a cheaper one. But I just love these windows, and I put them in whenever I can, especially in my bedrooms or basements or anything like that. I really do like them. Of course, I like the cheapness of cost, they'd be more economical, but here's one of the other drawbacks to it. Now, think of this slider window. It's kind of like your patio door, your sliding patio door. They're easy to break in, a lot easier to break into. Just ask your carpenter. I'm not going to be advertising how to break into my house. Anyway, but sliding windows, they are really a good economical quality window. Oh, like I say, we see them in basements and such. So, just think about that anytime. Now, what you'll see sometimes, and I think the sliders will go great. I want to retake back something I said on the front of the house. So sometimes on our front of our homes, we have these beautiful 3-window sets. Now you'll see like 2 of them are operable. They're flanking windows, and in the center is a picture window. Very common, and they're very nice. But just remember, whenever you're buying these, them are actually 3 windows. And the window manufacturer is selling you 3 windows. Not one big window, but it's because they mold them together. They're selling 3 windows. So you're paying 3 times the price. So I love to put in, and besides, I love to put in my sliding windows because I only got that one center bar, just like my patio door, okay? Just think you're looking out that patio door. You only got that one center bar coming down. Whereas on your 3 windows, you got all of that ugly frame that's in the way. Well, maybe the frame's not so ugly. We'll get into framing here a little bit more. But you have that frame that goes around it, and you got all of that you just takes away from your clear space, that visual. And that, so I like that. I like to be able to see out the window. So, and you're saving a ton of money. So think about that, because that is really something to think about. Talk to your wife about it, see what she says. That's really what you need to do, because they're the ones that's going to make that final decision. Honestly, they're the ones that has the better idea of beauty anyway. We won't go any further in husband and wife stuff. We're going to move right on into the next set of windows. Okay, so we talked about the sliding windows. Let's talk about an awning window. So what's an awning window? So awning windows, that we see a lot of these in basements. We also see a lot of them in transit windows. Remember the old buildings, like near barber shops and our old even our old offices, like downtown, and our own downtown buildings, especially in our courthouse or old courthouse. They put them at the top of the door. There again, what they would do is put it and that would let the heat out. Okay, so which is great. But we also see them at the bottom of picture windows, because they'll let the cool drop into it. So if you put a combination of these into your home, then you can actually save a ton of money there again. Now, they do have a little bit of mechanisms on there, a little mechanicals going on, and that's just your swing, your hinge. And what they do is actually they open up from the bottom. Just picture a solid piece of glass, and it swings out from the bottom out into the environment. Okay, so you kind of have a little bit of exposure to the elements, but it's normally your exterior that's only going to be exposed to the elements, because the inside of it is still going to be shaded from the rain and whatnot. But these are awning windows. They call them awning, and they just kind of just slide like an awning. They slide from the bottom out. They're for cleaning purposes. Well, maybe they're not as great, but any window tall or something to get to is kind of a pain. They have a long life expectancy. They really do hold up well. I rarely find one that has any more problems than a missing handle. Now, energy efficiency. Well, just like your casement, okay? Just think your casement windows, they come up and they open like a door. Well, this is like a door that's hung upside down and swings out from the bottom. So when it does shut and you lock that into place, all four sides of your windows compressed, nice and tight. And your screen, like on your casement, is on the inside of your home. So it's actually not on the outside. And you don't lose your screens, and it's easier to take your screens in and out. These are really great. We see it there again. We see them in a lot of basements. They're not an egress window, because you can't. What's an egress window? We'll talk more about that in other shows. But an egress window means that you can evacuate out of your home quickly, safely, effectively, during a case of emergency. We'll talk more about that, but they're very good. They have a great U value of these windows, and so think about awnings. And normally we don't have big awning windows. They're more of a smaller size. So think about that. That's a great window. Now, we kind of talked about casement. We talked about awning, and I started them windows first because I want to go into the skylight windows. Skylight windows, they've had a pretty bad reputation over the years for leakage, water leakage, because, they're right on top of the roof. They get an tremendous exposure to the element, to the sun, rain, hail, snow. So but the windows themselves had not ever had as much trouble as the flashing. Now, I have had some that I went out and looked at for insurance purposes to help people on insurance claims where the glass does get broke. That I don't really see that a whole lot because of the tempered type glass or the extra strength glass. But what we do see is the flashing issues. And now this is more of a roofer thing than it is the window thing. But the old systems had poor flashing to no flashing, and the roofers had to compromise and make it happen. But the new skylight windows, man, these things are just fabulous. Oh, what I love about a skylight window is that you can put light into areas of your home that you can't with an exterior window, such as kitchens. Oh man, they could just bring in such beauty to the house. Bathrooms. We see a lot of skylights in bathrooms. So I mean, it is really nice, and then especially if you got to get up middle of the night, you got a moonlit night. They're just so nice. I know I'm going to talk a little bit about my house here. So, my house, I have some skylight windows. I got, it's a high energy efficient home. And so when my wife and I talk, and when the moon goes across, it's a big, beautiful full moon. We literally see that moon from the time it rises until the time it sets. And when it goes over the house and it gets up tall in the sky, that whole house is illuminated, and it's really beautiful. It's really, really nice. But now, we have both fixed skylight windows and we have operable skylight windows. What do we mean by an operable skylight window? Well, they actually open up. They open like an awning window. They lift up from the bottom and out, and that way it doesn't have the underneath is not exposed. It lets the heat out of your home, lets fresh air in. So they are great for areas that you worry about too much heat gain. We'll see a lot of our sunrooms, especially when we're designing a hot house or a solar heating room during the summertime. During the wintertime, we're trying to gain all the heat gain and light we can for our plant growth and for our heat. But during the summertime, naturally, it can get really hot in one of them rooms. So by lifting that up, it just lets the heat right out of there. They're really easy to operate. They really do hold up well. And I can't really give you any products, over the radio because I don't have anybody endorsing this show in regards to windows, so I'm not going to give any free advertising. But you call me, and I'll give you the phone number at the beginning of the show. I'll give it at the end. I'll give you some great ideas and some great ones out there that are just tremendous. Skylight windows are not the cheapest window. They're more of your expensive window. But man, they are really, really worth the money. So we want to talk a little bit. We'll think about that for your skylight windows. And, I guess one of the drawbacks is that if the window's up high and it's hard to reach, like on my home, I can't reach my windows even if they was easy to, because it's 2 stories in the air. My skylights are that high. But them guys out there designing these windows, they literally got them electric now. Ain't that cool? You just automatically hit the button, zoop up, zoop down. They can even put them on thermostats. What do you mean by that? You put it on a thermostat so it operates kind of like what blinds do now in windows, which we're going to have some blind people come up to. People sell blinds. I'm not blind people. Sorry, Dad. So they automatically it gets too hot. They open up. They start cooling down. Or they get rained on. They start shutting automatically. They got their own brains. Ain't that cool? I just love them. Now, there's another type of skylight, and you might not call it a skylight, but technically that's what it is. It's called the tubular skylights. A tubular skylight. They're just a round tube, and they come down, and we see a lot of these. Oh my stars! They are crazy bright because they use mirrors going down through it, or reflectance, not necessarily mirrors always, but reflectance, and so as that enhances that light as it comes down. So honestly, you can have it down in your basement. One of these tubular skylights, and you would just be shocked at how much, even on a gray day, it lets that come through, the sunlight come through there. What I like about them is that you could put them in tight spaces, And there is no moving parts, and there's nothing to clean inside of it because it's all hermetically sealed. So you don't have any, I mean, maybe the cheap ones are not, but they're sealed. So you're not getting dust and stuff into it. So no cleaning. As a guy, I like no cleaning windows. So think about that. And they're energy efficient, and they really do bring in a lot of beauty to the home. So think, and puts in light in areas that you really, like I said earlier, areas that you normally wouldn't be able to get into any other way. So think about them different types of skylights because they're really, really awesome to do. Okay, so let's move over to the picture windows. What's a picture window? Well, it's really, technically in the field, we call them fixed windows, meaning that they do not operate. They're just a double, or they're just a piece of glass in a frame, and they're high energy efficient. They're very beautiful because they don't have anything. They don't have any bars or anything with them. They just pretty much last forever unless a seal or something goes wrong, and that could happen with any of the windows. And you see these for instance, over in our master bathrooms, over our tubs, because you could have a tempered piece of glass, lets in all that natural light. People can, it really makes it nice and bright, and no operating of them. You don't have to get in the bathtub to close it. We also see a lot of them in our big picture window walls. Window wall. That's kind of like your atrium home. That's full of glass and it's all glass so you can look out. Really, really beautiful. So and what's cool about them, they come in more than one dimension. We have them in triangles. We have them in half rounds. Octagon windows. I mean, there's just no end to the absolute design that you can't do with a picture window. I see people put them in closets or up in your foyer when you're coming into the home. Just all kinds of fabulous applications to let that sunlight in, let light into your home while saving a ton of money. Drawback? Well, you're going to have to get on a ladder or somehow to get to them clean. So that's kind of that'd be my biggest complaint of one of them is that. But the good things will far outweigh any of that. So I don't want to even think negative about a picture window because they just are so cool. We put them above our double hung windows. We put them above our casement windows. Just stack them on top of one another. You've probably seen a lot of times in fireplaces where they flank the fireplace, with the two fixed windows. Anyway, just really great architectural opportunities to enhance the beauty of your home. All righty, well, let's just move over here to bay windows. A bay window, I think most people know what a bay window is, and that's a window that literally protrudes outside of the home. It usually has like a shelf, a big shelf. I call it a plant shelf, but a place where you can put your stuff on it. And a lot of times a bay window will have two flanking windows, whether it be a double hung or a picture or a single hung, and then a fixed center window. So they just open up a room. I mean, you got what feels like a nice tight room. A bay window is your answer because it's like it just feels like you added tons more space and all that extra light just comes into them. They're great for tons of things, kitchenettes or dining rooms, living rooms. They're just fabulous. I mean, they are just a combination of a fixed window mostly and flanking windows of the side, like I said, single or double hung windows. And so they can get kind of costly because there again, it's a lot of more parts to it. But they sell it, not three windows like I was talking about earlier. They sell it as one window but it is one expensive window. Okay. And you better have a carpenter that knows how to put them in. If there's a drawback to them, it's not the window. It's the lack of craftsmanship knowing how to install them. I get a lot of inspections where I get called in and say, hey, Troy, I got leakage coming around here, or my windows are rotting, and I got water in the bottom of my window. What's happening? Well, every single time I've ever gotten into it, and I'm not saying it's every single time in the world, but every single time I've ever gotten into one, it's lack of installation issues. Actually, we're going to talk about that too. I think I could have a whole segment just on installing windows. I can't even tell you how many carpenters I see that don't have a clue on how to put in windows. But that's another story, another day. Back in the old days, we learned how to do them. These younger carpenters, they're just kind of losing their way on that. But anyway, bay windows. Now, a bay window can also be a garden window. We see a lot of garden windows in kitchens, and they actually, now a garden window, they're more squared protrusion, and they're smaller, okay? But they are designed actually so they can be wet and get that, some dampness to put your flowers and plants on. And they really do open up a room also. Smaller than a bay, quite a bit smaller than a bay window normally. But you can actually have one of them with an awning on top, or a skylight type thing, so it lifts up. They can be on casements. I mean, there's just tons of things you could do with them. And they're not as big, so they do save you a ton of money as far as a bay window. But they're limited to where you could put them at. But if you have a place like in a bathroom that you'd like to have a little extra room, but especially in kitchens is where we normally always see them at. Storm windows. Well, everybody knows the old storm windows. And we got the old, now I grew up, we had the old storm windows that Dad had to go out there every single year and he'd hang them. And then they'd hang on a couple of just bars, and then he'd seal them up and put them in there. But we have unless you're of my age, most people have never seen any of them because they all went to the aluminum storm windows. Aluminum storm windows, they're great. They really help now we don't use them on our energy efficient windows. A storm window is normally only used on your single pane pieces of glass because they help cut down on how much heat comes through or cold can get through. They do help. They're not airtight by any means, but they definitely help a bunch. And back in my day, it used to be a lot of mom and pop shops, window companies, literally could make these storm windows down in their basement. But we really don't see as much of these storm windows as we used to. But I will say what I see a lot of these storm windows are still being used for, which is a fabulous idea and which I've been doing for the last 30 years or more, is for our 3-season rooms. A 3-season room is a room that it doesn't have heat, doesn't have air conditioning, but it's an enclosure so as that you can use it for the 3 seasons. And because their windows are economical, right? They don't cost very much. You can lift them up. So you can have them either single hung or double hung storm windows. You can have your screens in it. They just they're really a top-notch idea for 3-season rooms. So think about that. And like I said, we're not going to see any storm windows. Well, I shouldn't say anybody, which I have seen in the past. Nobody regularly ever puts a storm window on energy efficient homes. For one, they're not that attractive. Number two, you just don't need a storm window on an energy efficient window. And we'll talk about energy efficiencies a little bit later. But anyway, that's a great way of saving a little bit of money and saving and instead of having to replace all of your windows. Also, too, they can help you with, people, you live on a busy street, they cut down on the sound. Maybe the old neighbor's dog barks, they put them out there at daybreak and wakes everybody up on a Saturday or Sunday. So they cut down on some of the noise or children or something. So it just gives you a little bit of extra help with that. So let's kind of move on here and jump into some of the window frames. Now, window frames, wow. Man, have they come into some really neat stuff. And we've also had some pretty much disasters with them. So that's why I kind of left this to the end. So we have some different types of window frame. You got your vinyl, which I think everybody's used to, aluminum, fiberglass, wooden. I mean, and now we got UPVC, and we have composite window frames. So we're just going to kind of go through these and talk a little bit about each and every one of them. I can't go into great detail, but of all of them, because it'd be, like I say, several hours just talk about that. But let's start right into our composite windows, because composite windows are really coming along really, really great. At first, they had a lot of trouble with composite windows, but what they are is they're a blend of materials, similar to what your car bumper's made of, including resin and fiberglass. Oh, we got fiberglass windows too. We'll talk about them. And then they're very strong, okay, and yet they're flexible. So that's great. And they can last up to 40 years. And they have a really good life expectancy. So think about that. It's a great idea. They are a little bit more costly. So, that's a problem. They're more durable than, we'll talk about some of these others, but they're more durable than the UPVC windows. And, of course, they're cheaper than the UPVC windows. And always get more than one quote when you get these windows. So the composite window, I love them. And really, really, they're coming along great. You want to make sure on some of these windows, because this show does go all over the North America continent, and I don't know if it goes down to South America or not yet or not. But so in some different areas, want to do your research. In the Midwest, they're just an all-around good window. But in different climate zones, they have some problems. So think about that a little bit. Just do a little bit of research on where you're at. Vinyl windows. They have been a champion around here throughout this country, the North America continent, for 40 years or so, 30 years for sure. They've been around for a long time. And actually what they are is they're a plastic material, PVC. And I see my notes said they started in the 70s, so I guess I nailed that one. I started in 1976, so I've always been seeing them. Now, when they first started, they wasn't like all kind of new ideas. They took a little bit to develop to become the quality that they are today. And so my vinyl framing, which is what you're really going to see in the Midwest more than any other window, is that they have hollow chambers. They're great for insulating, right? That's really they save you a ton of money for a great insulation value. But in really hot areas, they have a tendency to sag. Here's a tip. Here's another great tip to remember. Keep your vinyl windows. When your vinyl windows are shut, keep them latched. Because latched. And the reason I say that is they have a tendency to warp. And that is a drawback. Now, you can force them back into place a lot of times and rewarp them back into place. So it's not like a forever memory. But that can be a problem, and I do see several homes, you can't get these dadgum windows to lock anymore, because they've left them unlocked. So make sure you keep them secured. That keeps them straight. We have a tendency to also, when they get a lot of sunlight through so it's a southern exposure, the ultraviolet rays will deteriorate that plastic. Even with the higher quality PVC that we have, has a tendency to deteriorate them. And it's like any kind of petroleum product, once they start getting a little bit of too much sun, they dry out, they get brittle, they break. So that's kind of a problem with them. So, but they're economical, right? Save a ton of money. They're all around good window. Life expectancy. Well, I know what my notes say. They say 30 years, but honestly, I think, a life expectancy of a vinyl window is about 20, 25 years. Not so much because of the window, but just because of the type of material it is. The screws get weaker on them because they start drying out, and there's other things. So the mechanics of them start breaking and have a lot of troubles. But they're a great all-around window. I want you to think about them. Now, here's a con that we hear from some of our more green states, and that because they are making them, it's in the toxic materials that are involved in making them. And naturally, in a house fire, when they melt, they put off some toxic fumes. Of course, there's a whole bunch of toxic fumes going off in your home in case of a fire, but, that's a problem, and we want to think about that. But anyway, these are some really great, these are all around fabulous windows. I love them, and I know you will too, and it's probably the window that gets put in the Midwest more than any other window. Now, here's one that I know everybody says, well, I know all about them windows, Well, let's go right into one that I bet not many people has heard, and that's your UPVC window. Yes, it's called U, the letter U, PVC window. And it is called, what is it? It's an unplasticized polyvinyl chlorine low maintenance window. And people like them because they're more economical than, say, your composite windows. You don't have as much of that toxicity that you do when producing or destroying of the other windows, and they don't rot, which is great. They're resistant to corrosion, and they last a really long time. And unlike metals, they're non-conductive. They're very great for energy efficiency. But they say they're long lifespan. But really, truly, what I'm seeing of them is about a 20-year life expectancy. So you're not gonna get that for long periods of time. But they're a great window. Think about them; they're really beautiful. They could get them in some really amazing colors. So think about that. We talk about that in the colors. I want to bounce back to vinyl. The darker your vinyl windows are, the more they're going to deteriorate a little more quickly. I know some of you guys out there saying, your window people, oh, that's not true. That's not true. I call BS on that. But anyway, that's just one opinion versus another opinion. But let's move on down there to, let's just jump back here a little bit to our wood windows. Reason I kind of didn't get on them first, because I think everybody understands a wood window. High maintenance, very beautiful, flexible in the idea of how you can use them. You can paint them. Oh, we all love the stained window, so that's a great, but how many? A wood window is always what it was originally. We still see windows in some of these houses over 100 years old, still working. So you can't beat them. You take care of them. They just last forever. Take good care of them. Now, if you'd like to have more of the maintenance-free exterior, we have a vinyl-clad wood window. And that's wood on the inside. Actually, it's a wood window with vinyl cladding to the exterior. And that vinyl protects that wood, so it's more maintenance-free on the outside, but you have the beauty of the wood window inside. Really, really cool. Now, there was a window company that had a lot of trouble with the glue sticking to them, and that vinyl was having trouble. But to them, I'm going to name that company because they really deserve to have hats off. Kudos to Marvin Window Company. They had a lot of troubles with that. But I'm going to tell you what, that company stuck to it. It hurt them financially, but they warranted every single window. And they warranted it right down to the T. They actually did more than what the warranty said. So wow, hats off to a quality company like that. Now that I advertise for them, I ought to hit them up, say you owe me some money, huh? I wonder what they tell me about that. I know several Marvin salesmen. They get a kick out of that. I might even get one of them to come on here and talk with us. So anyway, let's move on over to some of these other windows. Fiberglass windows. Wow, stronger than vinyl. More affordable than your clad window, vinyl clad window like we was just talking about. And they stand out for their strength, their low upkeep, and they look good. You just can't hardly, I just love them. They are beautiful, and they last, well, they last for longer than you're probably going to be living in your home. They have a life expectancy up to 50 years. I mean, that's top notch, and they're great. Now, they do cost a little more than your vinyl, They're 25% more than your vinyl, but they're half the cost of aluminum vinyl or clad window. So think about that, for durability. They are great. And you can do you can do a lot of your designs. All them other windows we was talking about, your fixed windows and awnings and all that, you can get all of these different windows like that in your different window frames. So think about that when you're doing it. Fiberglass windows, they are fabulous. Now let's just talk about, let's do want to hit a little bit about the bad. I'm over there bragging about how good they are, but vinyl windows, about a fiberglass window in cold and winters and hot winters, they have some technical problems. So when you move to the extremes of north and south, remember we talked about you want to do a little research on your window. They have had some problems with cracking frames and peeling paint and warping, pooling because of that major extremes of the two. You got an ambient temperature of one, and a drastic from the interior. So, think about that. But if it could work for you, it's a great opportunity to put in a good quality window that you might not ever have any troubles with. And so it's a great Midwestern window. So think about that. Of course, now aluminum windows, we don't see many aluminum windows left anymore. We see a lot of, especially in residential, that used to be the rage. We all seen them. We've all had them. But they're more used for commercial. They have different, now the vinyl or the aluminum windows now, they have some different systems and they're a little more expensive. They're great for commercial because of the way the frames are designed. Residential, not so much. Well, like on a residential window, they're more apt to be operable, right? Raise up and down, let air in. Where a commercial building, they're pretty much a fixed window. You just don't see operable windows. Why? I guess they just don't want people jumping out the dadgum windows after the boss got onto them. I don't know. But aluminum windows, we have literally, every one of us has probably ever been around aluminum windows seen this before in the past, where ice has been built up inside of the window because they are so energy inefficient, and an operable window lets that cool air or that hot air come through. We're not worried about ice naturally in the summertime, but in the wintertime, horrible for that. So very poor windows for residential. We just don't really see them anymore, more in the old windows. One of the things that I dislike about them is, yes, they're economical. They're hard to take out and replace. They're just, for residents, they just don't work. Well, folks, I really did enjoy talking to you about these windows. And, the windows, what makes them so cool is, they say, what do they say? The eye is the window to the soul. And I say the windows are also the eyes of the home, of the soul of the home. Just like you're seeing your eyes can make some people beautiful eyes. You just don't get past their eyes. They do, and that's why women and I guess guys now have enhanced their eyes and they do like contacts and they do eyelashes and all the other stuff. Forgive me for not knowing all that stuff, but I do know beauty when I see it in a beautiful set of eyes. Well, it's the same. And, if you're not feeling good, your eyes do show this window of the soul. If you're not feeling good, your eyes show it. You might have bags under your eyes or big dark circles, or if you're sick, your eyes do show it. You can see. I've heard my wife tell the children, when they were little, I know you're not feeling good. I could see it in your eyes. So they tell they tell the soul. Same with windows on a home, to the soul of the home. They make a house look so beautiful with the right windows. And we're going to talk more about the different beauties and types of windows and glasses. So we could talk about the beauty and the energy efficiency in another show. But they can make your house look awesome. They can also make your house look pretty bad. If you don't take care of them and they look nasty on the outside, they make your house look like sick. Especially if it's not well maintained or if you got any kind of framing issues and the windows are half hanging out of the home. So they do the same thing as your eyes. But also one of the really cool thing about windows and the soul of the home is that when you're in your home, you get to look outside of these big, beautiful windows, and you can see the environment, your beautiful environment that you're around, whether you're in the city or you're in the country. It doesn't make any difference. You get to see the beauty of the lights of the city or the beautiful stars at night coming through. Also, too, they can give you some really awesome indirect lighting into your home, save a little bit of electric costs, but, nothing makes the soul feel better than good sunlight coming through the home. Well, folks, thank you for listening to the show. I really appreciate it. My name again, Troy Galloway of Galloway Building Services. I know I threw a lot at you. You have any questions, give me a call. My phone number is 636. This is my office number, 636-394-3112. My personal cell phone number, 314-520-6655. All this information is out on our webpage. You'll get all of that. But if you are having window issues, or you want to know why you're having leakage, or you're having air infiltration or energy loss around your windows, call me. We do window inspections as far as everything else, especially on new construction or remodel. Make sure them windows are done right. These windows are not cheap. You want them right, you want the beauty, and you want to call Galloway Building Services. Thank you, folks. Oh, and hats off to our producer, Joey. I couldn't have this show without him. I always appreciate him. He always gives me great tips and things, and he always makes the show sound good. So when I'm stuttering, sneezing, or sneaking in a drink of water, he's taking care of me. Thanks, Joey. Y'all have a great day. Appreciate it. Come here, holler.
Sponsored by Troy Galloway and Galloway Building Services, your top choice for professional home inspections in the St. Louis area. GallowayBuildingServices.com.